Welcome to Fright Club Live. Tonight, a screening of the 2019 backwoods thriller, The Devil to Pay.
There came a moment where I was like, she's going to have to kill her way out of this. And that's what happened. And it was so satisfying.
With a special introduction by filmmakers Lane and Ruckus Sky.
It's just such a rich world that later when we were coming up with ideas, I was like, let's set it there. Like, that is such an interesting place.
And a conversation about the best in Appalachian horror.
They thought that this was then essentially a snuff film.
Yeah.
And people were lined up to see it. They're like, oh my God, these people really died. I gotta go. Like.
Now, here are your hosts, Hope Madden and George Wolf.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome back. Well, I should say welcome back to myself.
That's
for
right.
Fright Club Live, because you managed to make it through without me last time for the last Fright Club Live. So thank you to Greg Hansberry, Halloween Hansberry,
That's
for
right.
so ably taking my place.
That's right.
Don't get comfortable with it, Greg. Tell you that
Of
right
the
now.
Empty Coffin podcast, which is a really, really fun podcast if you check it out.
So tonight we got so much stuff going on tonight. First of all, we've got chocolates flying through the theater, which is nice. Here at Gateway Film Center, our home away from home in Columbus, Ohio. We're passing out raffle tickets because this is our annual post-Oscar movie swag blowout.
That's right.
And we've got a bunch of great stuff to give away from all sorts of nominated and almost nominated films this year that we'll
It's a
give
good
away
category.
with the raffle
The
tickets.
almost nominated films.
So a lot of fun, and just a great movie tonight. Just such a great movie.
Yeah.
Look forward to talking about that and seeing it again as we talk about Appalachian horror.
That's right. We also want to thank Julie from Akron, who isn't here, I don't think, but I was hoping that she would come. She was at the last one that George was not at, and she ran into us at Burns Pub, which is where we also live, and told us what a great time she had and that she was a fan of the podcast. So shout out.
The one time I'm not a part of it, people come up to us on the street and say how good it was. So, I'll take that, I guess, for what it is. Hey, Vernell, get a raffle ticket. Just real quick, how many people have already seen this movie, The Devil to Pay? Anyone at all? One person? Okay.
All
Great.
right.
Great. I love that. Looking forward to talking about it after, getting the reactions, because, man, it's so good.
It is so
and so much to
good.
talk about. But we have we done all the housekeeping so far?
Yeah, we have. We wanted to talk about how many exceptional movies did not make the final list.
Yeah, a bunch.
Because you're going to be mad. Just prepare yourselves for it. Because there are so many incredibly good movies that take place in Appalachia because it's fucking scary.
It is.
It is. And so what we wound up doing was narrowing down to movies that we felt like could not have taken place anyplace else. Like the Appalachia itself was really central to what the film had to say. So we're going to run through some of the ones. A couple of them didn't make it because they just wouldn't have. And then others would have, except that we had really exceptional
Had to make
other
some
options.
tough cuts.
We did.
Some tough choices were made, and it usually came down to how integral Appalachia was to the actual story. So
That's right.
Yeah.
So don't expect to see Wrong Turn on this list. I'm sorry. I know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no Wrong Turn or Jugface. We talk about Jugface a lot. If you haven't seen it, you should. It's really weird and awesome indie horror, but it didn't make this list.
Yeah, Wrong Turn is representing West Virginia, and Jugface is Tennessee.
That's right. And then also West Virginia, but a little closer to here in Columbus. This is going to get a groan. No Mothman prophecies. We're
Yes,
not. I know. We're not going to get into the Mothman, I'm afraid. And then these last three, these are the three that killed me. So Evil Dead. This killed me, right? Because that's Tennessee, and that's a great movie. North Carolina, The Descent. Couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Almost
that's a tough cut right there.
Yeah, that's a tough cut.
Man.
This was, for me in particular, this next one was the hardest. The Silence of the Lambs did not make the list. And that kills me because it's my favorite movie of all time. It is. And also it does. It takes place in its entirety throughout, the Appalachian area. But it's not, it's really the towns. It could have been any place. It could have been Pittsburgh instead of Baltimore. It could have been, you know what I mean? Like it could have been other places. So
Belvedere, Ohio.
It was Belvedere, Ohio. Mm-hmm.
That exactly. Yeah.
I do always find. I'll squeeze it into someplace else where it doesn't belong at some point. So make up for it not making this one.
But those are all great. But
Yeah.
I think the ones we do have in the top five here that Appalachia is so so ingrained into the actual story that you're right. If you took that out, it just wouldn't be the same movie.
Right. No.
Sort of like if you took Christmas out of Die Hard, not the same
Enough.
movie.
Enough.
See, I'll find a way to work that argument in anywhere I can. So these are all good ones, and most of them I think we've talked about before. Some a lot, some not so much, but that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. So you want to dive into number
5,
representing West Virginia from 2010, Affable Hillbillies Tucker and Dale are on vacation at their dilapidated mountain cabin when they are mistaken for murderers by a group of preppy college students. Tucker and Dale versus evil.
Did you see the way those guys looked at us? No.
We got your friend!
They captured Allison!
Oh, it's the pancakes. You hate pancakes. I'm gonna make you something else.
This is a suicide pact. These kids are coming out here and they're killing themselves all over the woods.
Oh my God, that makes so much sense.
Man, this is one of my favorite horror comedies of all time.
Absolutely, yeah.
I know that we've shown it before at Fright Club, but we should just do it again sometime. Just because it's so much fun. It is so much fun.
It is.
And so well done.
Yeah, it is, and one of the reasons that it's so really specific and really accurate about sending up the tropes of particularly Appalachian-based horror, which is one of the reasons that it had to make it, and also just because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's like such a hoot, everything about this movie. And I do love the way it inverts all of the stereotypes that you're used to, especially from like camping slasher films from you. You stop at the last gas station and everything is creepy and they're selling, bait, except that we get everything from the perspective of these two just lovable losers, and they're so fun, and their friendship is so like charming and authentic. And then all of the sight gags everywhere throughout this movie, the bees and the wood chipper, and also the way Tucker gives the woman who they saved her life from drowning, he gives her his clothes to wear because she was just in her underpants in the water, and he's like this 300-pound man. And then the next time you show her, she like sort of tucks things around and she looks as hot as a human could possibly look, which is such a movie thing.
Yeah.
Everything about this movie is just charming and hilarious.
Yeah, but the setting is so important to the movie because it not only it sends up horror tropes, but it sends up the stereotypes of these quote-unquote hillbillies from this area. So that's why it's so important, Appalachia, the setting to this movie. And I kind of feel like this was, 2010. In the years after this, with the rise of YouTube and things like that, you started to see these fan-made trailers where movies were looked at from the opposite, like the Karate Kid, where Daniel is the villain,
right?
Things like that.
Right.
You start, and this reminds me of that because it's the case where the people that are usually the villain are not, even though these preppy kids think they are, that they're out to be killed, and it's so clever and so much fun.
It's sort of like in A Violent Nature, except that in that case, he really does kill everybody. So it's a little different.
Kind of like that, I guess. In A Violent Nature, I didn't really think it was a comedy, but I can, you do you. Number 5, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Yeah, we really should show that again because that's just a hoot. From 2010. Number 5. All right, number 4. Oh, man.
Moving to Maryland.
This is a favorite. Going to Maryland, back in the hills. Who's got the map? From 1999, 3 film students vanish after traveling into a Maryland forest to film a documentary on the local Blair Witch legend, leaving only their footage behind. It really happened, people. The Blair Witch Project.
I just want to apologize to Mike's mom and Josh's mom and my mom. I am so sorry, because it is my fault, because it was my project. I am so scared.
I don't know if it was new or I just saw it, but it seemed in my social feeds this week there was a picture of the 3 of them reunited. Anybody seeing that this week? I don't know if it recently happened. It looked like it was a pretty recent picture, the 3 of them back together. And it's so interesting. Every time we talk about this movie, I bring it up that going back to 1999, before things went viral, and this essentially went viral.
Right.
It was an incredible thing to live through.
Yeah, it really was.
Now it's commonplace, but back then, so many people really did think it was real. I
Yeah.
had family members that thought it was real.
Yeah.
What an incredible marketing campaign.
And it makes you, I think, kind of lose faith in humanity if you have any, because people, honest to God,
that
thought
ship has sailed.
they really did. Then they thought that this was then essentially a snuff film.
Yeah.
And people were lined up to see it. They're like, oh my God, these people really died. I gotta go. Like, what is wrong with you?
I know.
But we've talked about this before, that this is the movie that scared me more than any other movie I've ever seen, and I've seen a few horror films. I've told this before, I know. My sister saw it first because she lived in Boston. It opened in Boston the weekend before it opened here, and she called me. She's like, oh my God, go see this movie, because I'm afraid of everything that's in this movie. And everything that's in the movie is exactly what I assume is going to happen anytime I'm anywhere near the woods. And so I saw it. It was the first movie since I was a kid that I was like, I had my feet all the way in the bed. Like I wouldn't like lean out in any way of the bed. And then I had to go on this work retreat. And we were at like a scout camp. You could hear 23. I was fucking terrified. I couldn't pay attention to anything anybody said. I was looking for twig people everywhere we went. Yeah, this movie scared the shit out of me.
I think it's scary as well, although I totally get the camp of people that say it's not scary at all because, quote unquote, nothing happens.
Right.
If that's not a fear that you have, it's not going to get to you. Sort of like a skinamarink that we talked about. I get that. I did.
Except this one is scary.
Here we go. I did find this scary, not as scary as you did, but I thought it was extremely effective.
It's a tough movie to make the leap to streamers, right? Because
yes.
if you have anything else to draw your attention away from what's going on, then it can't build that tension unless you have a pathological terror of the woods, in which case it's not that hard to scare you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so hard to look back on it now and because it's not in a vacuum. So much has gone on with the world and media and marketing since then. To go back to that feeling you had when you first saw it, it was so incredible. But it really captured a mood. And I think if you do go back and watch it now, the internal logic of it, the fact that this is, found footage, holds up pretty well.
It does hold up pretty well, yeah. And, it was a clever conceit at the time that, of course, has been done sort of to death and then back again since then. Yeah. It was super fun at the time. And a lot of people say it wasn't the first found footage because of a couple of other movies like Cannibal Holocaust. But the Cannibal Holocaust and the other Poughkeepsie tapes, they're not exclusively the found footage. They're a narrative around found footage. And this really was the first one that's all you got. You just got served up what allegedly got left behind. So it was clever.
And, of course, the setting, the Appalachia, just incredibly important to the film. And that's why it's at number 4, which is actually kind of low for our love for this movie. Blair Witch Project from 1999. Okay, number 3 is the movie we're going to show tonight, so we're not going to talk much about it at all until after. From 2019, representing Georgia, after the disappearance of her husband, a struggling farmer in an isolated Appalachian community fights to save her son when the cold-hearted matriarch of the oldest family on the mountain demands payment of a debt that could destroy a decades-old truce. It's the devil to pay.
I suppose you're wondering why I summoned you.
The debt is paid.
I gave him a chance to make it right. Find your husband, return what's mine. I'll murder your boy, and I'll bury you alive right next to him.
The father of my child lying in a ditch somewhere halfway down the mountain.
Takes a while to dig a grave.
They got my boy. I need your help, Percy.
It's war. What are you really doing here?
Ain't none gonna keep you away from us. Ever.
Hello, Fright Club, and welcome to this screening of The Devil to Pay. We are so excited to have you here and share this film with you. If you haven't seen it before, I'm very grateful for you to taking this opportunity to watch it. We are the writer-directors of the film. My name is Ruckus.
And I'm Lane. And we'll talk a little bit about why we chose to set it in Appalachia. I used to camp up in the mountains when I was a kid and always loved the area. And then Ruckus and I take these little southern road trips for fun. And one year we ended up randomly at the Museum of Appalachian History in Tennessee. And it was this amazing archive of life in Appalachia with all these little handwritten stories about all of the things that were there. And it was just such a rich world that later when we were coming up with ideas, I was like, let's set it there. That is such an interesting place.
And we had the opening idea, the idea for the opening scene, which is a knock on the door, and these two guys show up and they say, you have to go see the head honcho, but we're staying here with your kid. And so we had that idea. That was the seed of the whole movie. And then we were like, well, in what world would a mother leave her son alone with these two guys? And it's like, well, it has to be a world that has different rules and different laws than, a modern day America in this. But we wanted it to be modern day. So we were like, we need a really isolated community. Oh, what about in the mountains? And then we thought about this museum she mentioned, and it all just kind of came together. And we just dug in, and then we shot it in the Appalachian Mountains in North Georgia and Hiawassee, mostly in and around that area. So the main thing we had to do is spend a lot of time in post removing houses. So all this sweeping mountain shots you see, there were houses everywhere.
Mailboxes
and power lines. And we had to remove all those because we wanted to feel remote. But that's the basic setting. And we love the world. And we're so excited for you guys to watch this movie. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, big thanks to Lane and Ruckus Sky for this is actually their second time with us on the Fright Club podcast. But
it is. And we'll just say real quickly, we have a history with this movie. We are the thriller feature lead judges for the Nightmares Film Festival. We don't choose the final films, but we recommend films for our category. And this was one of our choices. And it wound up winning Best Thriller at Nightmares Film Festival the year that it came out, was 2019. And I can remember when you watch a lot of movies coming, and then all of a sudden it was like such a hold the phone moment, like, damn, this is so good.
I remember we were on a kind of a Zoom call with the other judges. We were going over, okay, what have you seen? What have you seen that you like? And we both said, not only is this the best we've seen this year of the festival, this is one of the best movies we have seen this year, period.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just blown away by this film.
Right, and it was the first feature lead for Danielle Deadweiler, who's gone on to be, I don't know, like a massive badass. So we're excited for you guys to get
robbed
to see this
again this year.
Robbed again this year.
At the Academy Awards. I mean, she wasn't
kick somebody's dog.
I guess
man.
she wasn't nominated for Till,
getting...
which was a crime, and then she wasn't nominated for Piano Lesson. I don't get it.
No.
I don't get it. She's fantastic and she's great in this movie. And this
is
the really one I think that put her on the map. I had not seen her before.
This is her first lead in a feature.
Okay, well there you go. And since then, she's got that new one coming out, The Woman in the Yard.
That's right.
Have you seen the trailer for that?
Yeah.
Cannot wait for that.
So excited.
So, all right, that's all we're going to say about this. But we want to get your opinion on it because there's definitely some things to talk about.
That's right.
After it's over.
That's right.
Okay, Devil to Pay, number 3 on the Appalachian horror list. So we'll move on. Moving up to number 2. This is our classic on the list from 1955. A self-proclaimed preacher marries a gullible widow whose young children are reluctant to tell him where their real dad hid the $10,000 he'd stolen in a robbery. It's the night of the hunter.
I can hear you whispering, children, so I know you're down there. I can feel myself getting awful mad. Figured I was gone, huh?
Run, hide in the staircase. Run quick. Ruby, shit. What do you want?
I want them kids.
I'm giving you to the count of 3 to get out of here, then I'm coming across the kitchen shooting you.
The Night of the Hunter.
I love this movie so much. And it all takes place on the Ohio River. I feel like the Ohio River is such an important character in this movie, especially, when you're like, the camera's underwater, you're like, oh my God. Oh my God! And
great work underwater.
Really, The cinematography, start to finish, in this movie is spectacular, as is the sound design.
Let's full disclosure. This came in late.
It did come in late.
This was a late comer. We had forgotten about it.
We had forgotten about it.
And then, oh my God, Night of the Hunter. Yeah.
So so we had to rework it a little bit, but we were glad to add it to it because it is such it's just an absolute masterpiece. We were talking about it in the happy hour before. It's one of those. It's just a perfect film. And Robert Mitchum is like he's like the coolest guy in the whole world. He's like a guy who knows every single thing and doesn't even care that he does. Couldn't be bothered with the knowledge, whatever. He's the coolest guy. And he's so terrifying in this movie. Shelley Winters is great in this movie. Lillian Gish and her shotgun.
Yeah.
Goddamn right.
Lillian Gish.
Oh, my God. And then the kids, both of them, actually. You know, Sally Jane Bruce is Pearl. God, I love her to death. I love little Pearl. And then Billy Chapman plays John. John, who's not going to give up the secret. This movie is just awesome. And it's one of those movies where some of the characters, the delivery is kind of, you know, sort of stilted in that 1950s kind of silver screen way. Mitchum and Shelley Winters, not at all. Like, they basically seem like it's pre-method, but they have a very method kind of way about them. They're so naturalistic. They're so great. And for me, the mix of the two styles really fits the weird, off-kilter style of the movie itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I heard a couple of people talking in Happy Hour, too, about the fact that Charles Laughton, this was the only film that he directed.
Right.
And I think it was a mix of not only the poor critical reviews at the time for this movie, which is crazy
It is
to
crazy.
think about, but also he just decided he much preferred directing in the theater.
Okay.
To directing in films, even though in later interviews, Robert Mitchum cited Charles Laughton as his favorite director that he ever worked with. But yeah, only one film that had gone on, and of course has gone on to be a classic. And one thing I found interesting, too, when I was looking up research for this film, Lillian Gish asks Charles Laughton what he wanted from her for the part. And he said, when I first went to the movies, they sat in their seats straight and leaned forward. Now they slump down with their heads back, eat candy and popcorn. I want them to sit up straight again.
Nice.
That is a great. That
That's a good quote.
can really be relevant today to people watching at home.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and not really paying attention.
Yeah.
But I think he was successful.
Yeah.
In that regard. There's so much tension.
So
in this
much.
movie.
Yeah.
Robert Mitchum is so good at being. He did the same thing in Cape Fear to a different extent.
Yeah.
Just menacing. He's
Yeah.
just menacing, and you're just afraid of what he's going to do.
Yeah. He does bad things.
He does bad things.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. And you're right, the sound design, the light and shadow.
Oh, my God, yes.
The,
cinematography. It's gorgeous.
yeah.
It's such a gorgeous movie.
Just the shot of, spoiler alert, Shelley Winters underwater.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not her, but that's a good-looking dummy.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I mean, it really is. And
Yeah.
it's so much as far as Appalachia goes with the setting. That's important too because of his standing, who they thought he was, and why they put their faith in him so much.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is it's such an effective Depression era. Like the Depression timestamp on this movie is so clear.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is, and such a classic.
Yeah.
And once we realized it wasn't on the list, we're going, oh my God, something has to be done. So that is number two, Night of the Hunter from 1955. Ooh, the clock's ticking. We got to get moving. All right, that's good because we're moving it up to number one. This is also kind of a classic, I guess. 1972. That was a while ago. This is representing Georgia, intent on seeing the Caloosawassee River before it's dammed and turned into a lake. Outdoor fanatic Lewis Medlock takes his friends on a canoeing trip they'll never forget into the dangerous American backcountry. Cue the banjos, Deliverance.
These are the men. Nothing very unusual about them. Suburban guys like you or your neighbor. These are the men who decided not to play golf that weekend. Instead, they sought the river.
You look around, you Lewis. He could be out there anywhere watching us right now.
John Boorman's film of James Dickey's explosive best-selling novel.
Come on, squeal! Squeal!
I'm not going to say it.
No.
I'm not going to say it. You're thinking it, though. You're thinking the line.
Hey, George, you got a pretty mouth. I'll say it.
This was... John Boorman was a director who co-wrote with James Dickey, who wrote the book. And one thing I found that I thought was hilarious and fascinating, that throughout the production, James Dickey, I guess, went up to the actors and even John Boorman at different times and took them aside and said, I'm going to tell you this only. Everything in this movie happened to me for real. And then later they found it was a bunch of bullshit. But just to freak them out, which it would freak me out.
Oh, my God, yes. Yeah, this is, in a lot of ways, this started or at least it made very popular all of the tropes that are, they've wound up in Appalachian horror ever since then. And one of the reasons it made it so popular, it was nominated for 3 Oscars. I mean, it was a hugely successful film. But it's also really a good movie. I mean, it's really incredibly tense and very well made and very well cast. Is as creepy as it can possibly be. And I just feel like, I went back and forth what was going to be number 1 and number 2. And then I thought, well, what do you think of? Like, what's the very first thing you think of when you think of Appalachian horror? Well, you think of Deliverance.
Yeah.
And I feel like every filmmaker who's ever made Appalachian horror since then is got Deliverance in his head. Either they're thinking, I'm not going to make that movie. I'm going to make something much more honest and true, or they're like, well, yeah, give me some banjos,
Yeah, and actually the setting itself was so picturesque that it had to have its color desaturated because it looked too pretty out there where they were filming. And of course, it has that very famous shot that has been replicated, most notably in Carrie, with the hand coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And even John Borman acknowledges he recreated it in Excalibur.
Yes.
So that's one of the things you see a lot of movies do it, and it's it's effective. And there's so much of this is tension because especially when that scene where the hillbilly is right at the top.
Yeah.
Just with his gun, and they're hiding back there. You're like, oh my God, he's
Yeah,
going to
there's-
see him.
yeah.
There's just so much tension going on there. Yeah.
It is incredibly well directed.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's easy to overlook how well every scene is shot to elevate the tension, to just make you just clench up like, oh no. And it's doesn't have that many scenes of violence, but the scenes of violence are like, damn.
Yeah, but the threat
quite
of
memorable.
violence
The
as
threat
well.
of violence is always there. Yeah, it really is. It gets a lot of, probably rightfully so, from the people of Georgia and the surrounding states that it's unfair and that it has created really harmful stereotypes or perpetuated really harmful stereotypes. But as a horror film, man, it is effective.
Well, aside from the leads, they used a lot
Yes,
of local
they did.
people in the film. And one of I don't think the main hillbilly, one of them, though, was just an old friend of Burt Reynolds that he got in the cast. But the main hillbilly, Bill McKinney was his name, he trained himself to hold his breath and not blink for 2 minutes.
Wow. I don't know where else that's going to come in handy, but it's a creepy trick to have.
Yeah, so they used some locals, and of course the famous local that Billy Redden was his name, with the banjo scene. Even though that was not him playing the banjo, he showed up again in Big Fish.
Yes, he did.
Years
he
later,
did.
they went searching to get that same dude to put on the porch there in this scene. And also the scene with Ronnie Cox's character and his arm, he's double jointed, so he was able to do that.
Oh wow!
Yeah, just looking at that thing, like, oh God, that made me hurt just looking at it. But apparently he can pull that stuff off. So yeah, just a lot of creepiness in Deliverance, set in Appalachia. Fun, and it was, how many Oscars did you say was nominated for?
3, I think it was nominated for 3.
And of course the old urban legend, I guess, is that Burt Reynolds he would have won except for his cosmopolitan centerfold.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
yeah, who knows? I mean, he is awful good in the movie. They all are.
Yeah, they all are.
They all are. And this was Ned Beatty's debut. What a way!
Wow, I did not realize that.
Welcome in, Mr. Beatty. Guess what?
Wow. Wow.
You got a pretty mouth.
Yeah.
Deliverance from 1972, number 1 on the list of Appalachian horror. Okay, cool. We're just about on time.
Yeah.
How great is that? Okay. Oh, we didn't even mention the short film.
That's right. So we're going to watch a short film, also Appalachian, and it's made by a local filmmaker, Spooky Madison, who also so they direct and write, but they also star, along with Anthony Dane, who is an alum of our feature film,
Obstacle Corpse.
He's Red Hat. That is his name in our film, and it's really, really good. It's very effective, and it's won a bunch of awards, and we're very pleased that.
And we should say, in a new film that Spooky Madison is working on, Hope has a small cameo part in it.
That's right, I do.
As a news reporter, right? A news anchor.
Right. Silver Selby.
Selby Silver.
Sorry, backwards. Selby Silver.
So look for that coming soon. So that'll be first. Rabbit season.
Yep.
Is with Spooky and Anthony Dane. That'll be first, and then we'll go right into The Devil to Pay, and then we will give away some prizes and talk about what you thought about The Devil to Pay. Does that sound like a plan? Yeah. Glad you liked it. I was waiting, man. I was waiting when Percy got it. I knew people were going to be jumping. Because I remember the first time I saw it, I jumped out of my chair when Percy got it. No doubt about that. So let's get some of these winners, and then we'll get your thoughts
Just
on the film.
Come down and grab whatever you like.
Yeah, first come, first serve. Your choice. What's the number?
087481. Tyrone.
Don't hurt yourself.
That's right.
Well, he's coming down. What'd you think?
That was great. The first movie was. I definitely want to see more about Spooky Madison.
Rabbit season, yeah, it was
I
great.
want to see the sequel. Aside from the Appalachian language being very difficult to decipher at times, the one thing I did love above everything else was the veiled threat in the Hallow Day.
Oh yeah, yeah. The heathens were great, weren't they? They're just harmless city people.
They were creepy. All right, what are you taking? If you messing with Maria,
it's a good choice.
Enjoy. What are your thoughts on the film?
She never returned the car. I never saw her return.
She leaves a lot of vehicles all over that mountain, doesn't she?
It was stressing me out.
That's what stressed you out about the movie. The parking tickets. He was worried about the parking tickets. Okay, what do we got?
087480. All right.
Right here in front. What are you thinking? Okay, Wild Robot. Yeah. Some nice lithographs in there.
087479.
Oh, it's Seth. It's Seth. Well, first, price of admission. You got to give us your thoughts.
It was a good movie. I really liked it. Really great, created a sense of dread for me. I hadn't seen this before, and I love Danielle Deadwyler. She's a great actress. This really showed a lot of her range early on.
Lane and Rekka Sky talk about how Danielle Deadwyler came to be cast in the film and also become a producer.
So Danielle we'd known from the art scene in Atlanta, and prior to this, she had done one TV movie and like short films, but mostly theater. So this was her first sort of theatrical feature. And
starring
now,
role.
Starring role. And if you, now if you're following her at all, she is blown up and is in.
Oh, she's a goss.
Yeah. She's in 3 or 4 movies a year, and she's gone on. But she was a friend we had known just from the art scene and had kind of generally met maybe a year before. And she said she wanted to do kind of some thriller stuff, and that was kind of our space. And so when we came up with that story premise, it was an idea for Danielle. But what's fun is she didn't know this. We wrote the entire script with her in mind for it, but she had no idea. And then out of the blue, we emailed her a finished script and said, "Hey, we wrote this for you. Would you read it and maybe consider doing the movie?" Because we knew if she was in every scene. This is really low budget, but I was like, well, what do we have for production value? Well, we have Danielle, right? If she's in every scene,
if we can put the camera on
we
Danielle.
know at least those scenes are going to be solid. And so she said yes, and that's what started us off from there.
Yeah, but we wanted to make sure that she was a partner on the film and not just the lead actress. And she was actually really excited about being a producer on the film as well.
Yeah, it's really well acted. It's well written. It's got those shocks, and I love the conversation between her and her son, the bookends of how the conversation changes.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. It's a great way to book in the film. All right, what are we thinking?
Why don't you take the surprise box, the one we have no idea what's in it?
What's in the
That
box?
one.
What's
That's
in
it
the
right
box?
there. Oh my God, it's Gwyneth Paltrow's head.
Spoiler.
You do one.
You do
No,
one.
we don't know what's in it.
We do, but I just forget. Okay, this is last 4 digits, 7478. Jeff,
right,
come on down.
I thought it was a really, really good, like, kind of combination between Winter's Bone and Boondock Saints.
Okay,
really, because you
yeah.
had like the organized crime angle, and then you had like the avenging agent.
Yeah.
Part of it. That was a really, really fun time.
Yeah, nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
Get some Boondock Saints in there.
That's
All right,
right.
grab a prize. What do you think? Okay, another
right.
lithograph in there. It might be signed by somebody. Maybe
I
us. I don't.
grabbed
Oh,
one.
you got one?
Yeah.
Okay. Last 4, 7472. No, not you. We had to know. We should have started with him. He's
Yeah.
going to win anyway.
Monty wins everything.
What do you think of the movie?
It was good, but it was stressing me out. Like having a child and
Yeah.
just putting myself in that position.
Yeah.
It was stressing me the hell out.
Yeah.
When she was going to let that one guy go, I'm like, no, you got to bash his brains in.
Yeah.
Like immediately bash that guy's brains in.
Yeah.
And I'm glad she did.
Yes, me too. And I'm kind of glad that we're not sure of what happens because the other guy seemed at least really conflicted about the idea that he was going to have to kill this adorable 4-year-old
I probably
Butterbean.
would have buried him alive personally, but you know.
Yeah.
But that's you.
Butterbean.
I follow the creed.
And how cool was it that she pulled the trigger right before she finished with ignorant?
Oh, yeah.
Boom.
That was great.
What do you got? That's another Viewmaster from Maria. Last four, 7483. 7483, Michael. What's your thought? Were you stressed out about the parking tickets?
Actually, I would say this was probably one of the most satisfying payback films since I watched Sisu 87 times.
Oh, Sisu.
Love Sisu. Love Sisu. All right, grab a prize. What do you?
Okay.
Advent calendar.
That's
Enjoy
right.
that. 7484. Is that you? Burnell. And Conclave on vinyl for your disco dance parties.
That's right. The Pope's greatest hits.
We've got the Challengers glasses. There's 3 glasses. Take the Challengers. Okay.
Okay. Now, people who only ever get a chance to listen to the podcast and never get a chance to come to Fright Club Live may never know the joy of watching these movies with Vernell.
That's right.
This movie was so suspenseful. But there came a moment where I was like, she's gonna have to kill her way out of this. like she's gonna have to kill her way out. Yeah, and that's what happened, and it was so satisfying. You know, I mean, she was hesitant; she didn't want to.
No,
but they put her in that position, and she was like, "Yeah, it's me or you."
She's so great, and I forget who's the actress that plays Tommy Runyon, the matriarch. She's a veteran. Yeah, she's a veteran actress. And
Catherine Dyer.
Catherine Dyer.
Yeah,
So
Catherine
good.
Dyer.
So good.
Yeah. But I love that, you know, anybody who does such and so is an ignoramus.
Right.
She just turned that phrase so well.
Yeah.
She was really perfect in that role. And that's one of the, and when she, and I love the idea that the kingpin, really, right? The leader. And it's the same thing, really, if you watch a lot of gangster movies, you know, the main guy, he never kills anybody. He just sits there and everybody else does their bidding. And I love that in this one, it's a woman and she's constantly cooking something, but she's the most terrifying human being in this movie.
Yeah, the way when she just quits being nice at the beginning and just drops it. I'll murder your boy and bury you alive.
That's right.
Oh.
But take some biscuits.
Yeah, take some biscuits for the
Oh,
road.
my God.
All right. How about 7475?
All right.
All right.
We hope you liked Amelia Perez.
Yeah, we do. Conclave on
that's
vinyl.
right. We've got a Conclave vinyl. To be honest, if you liked Amelia Perez, they sent some nice
They
shit.
They did.
Netflix really gets behind whichever one of the movies they decide that they're going to get behind each
Yeah,
year.
and
We were wishing it was the piano lesson this year, but it was
I
Amelia
know.
Perez.
What did you think of the film?
I liked it a lot. It was kind of, I thought of it a little bit like a political thriller where you're kind of piecing it together as you go, and the plot, you kind of have to use your brain a little bit. I like that. The part where he gets the acid poured on his face, I just thought of the Nicolas Cage scene from Wicker Man with the not the bees.
The bees.
Yeah.
I liked it overall, though. Unnerving, unpredictable.
Yeah, this one, this is maybe the third or fourth time, and it struck me even more so this time how well written it is.
It really
how
is.
Tightly written. Yeah. All right, some Conclave. So big Amelia Perez fans in the house tonight, I see. I don't want to start a social media war.
That's true. And
You
they
lied to
used a
me.
lot of that, whatever that was.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's funny. As anxious as Tyrone was about all those cars being left about the mountain, I was just like, you're really wasting an awful lot of that on one person,
The
aren't
first
you?
time it was just one
Yeah.
drop out of a tweezer. They were like, oh, hell, take it all.
Yeah.
Woo. Okay, how about 7482?
All right.
Alexander. Can I interest you in Amelia Perez? Box of goodies. This is shirt and hat, and there's a book in there. Or the big. This is actually nice, and it's
It is
signed.
really nice.
Yeah.
It's signed by the director, who
Yeah.
also directed A Prophet, which is a brilliant movie.
God, it's a
I mean,
great
he's
movie.
really a great filmmaker, whether you liked Amelia Perez or not.
I really liked it a lot. I've enjoyed Danielle Deadweiler's performances so far, and this one is one of her best.
She's great. All right. Take
And
your pick.
I loved all of the names in this. Lemon.
Mhm.
Lemon was a great name.
7471.
Terry.
Holy moly.
All right, that's what you want.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Yeah, it's actually nice.
It is really nice.
Thoughts on the film?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I like Daniel Deadweiler anyhow, but this, I'd never seen it, and I loved that she took care of everybody.
She did.
She took care of everybody.
Yep.
So, yeah, it was real good. It was real good. Thanks.
Good. Thank you. I'm glad everybody liked it, and it was a lot of fun. So appreciate it, and congrats on all the prize winners. We'll get this edited, and the podcast will be up here in a couple of days. Find it on all the usual outlets, and of course, Mad Wolf Columbus on socials. And we look ahead. I don't know if we know what we're having next month, do we?
We actually don't. And my sense is that they might be having a hard time getting the movie that I was hoping to show.
Oh, I know what it is. It's Amelia Perez.
That's right. No. So we will have to, although I want to say that we're going to push our May date back by a week because we will actually be in Ireland on the second Friday of May. So we're going to do Fright Club the following Friday.
Yeah, because if you didn't know, she's actually a citizen. She has a dual citizenship. She has an Irish passport.
That's right.
And we have never been to Ireland, so we're going.
Which is insane. So.
Yeah, and we'll see you after. But man, this was a lot of fun, and I'm glad you liked the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be back to do it again next month, and look forward to it then. And until then, she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Fright Club Podcast.
Hi, this is Ruckus Sky.
And Lane Sky.
We're the writer and directors of The Devil to Pay. Stay frightful, my friends.
Thanks, you guys. This was great. Appreciate that.